All right, guys, let's get started. BIZ+MATIC episode, I don't know which one, but guys, I have a special guest today, my business partner, Jason Palomino. It's been a while. I've been trying to get you to come on my podcast, do an episode with me for quite some time, bro. And I don't know if you were just scared to get in front of the camera or scared of the record button, or you just didn't want to steal my shine or something, but I finally got you on here.
Yeah, no, this is my first one. I'm excited. I'm excited to do my first podcast. After this, I'm going to probably get Tyler to open up my own show.
So part of the reason why I wanted to have you on, bro, is you and I have been working together for quite some time, over 10 years, right? I lost track of time, man. But
been a while.
I think for a lot of people that don't really know, how our business is set up and all that stuff, Jason and I have been business partners for quite some time, and it's kind of been like the yin and the yang, different. We kind of run different parts of the business and bring different things to the table.
Yeah.
And really, just from my perspective of being in business, I see like your level of work ethic and kind of how you've grown up, and you coming from a wrestling background and all that stuff, I think has really shaped the person you are today and the entrepreneur you are today and the leader you are today at our office. So I guess I wanted to dive a little deeper into that and just kind of talk about, your story and how you grew up and how that, kind of applies to just being an entrepreneur. So why don't you tell our listeners or viewers a little bit about you, like, how you grew up and, give us the background on JP.
Yeah, I was born and raised here in San Jose. Went to Independence High School, went to San Jose State. And for me, throughout my whole journey, whether, growing up as a kid, going to school, I've always had great people, great mentors. So, I've always had a great support system. So going back to, the work ethic, it goes back to, a lot of people spending a lot of energy and time with me, whether they were building me, for wrestling, or, teachers, or, aunts and uncles that helped me through school. So for me, I can't take all the credit for that. I definitely have to give credit where credit's due, and I would say that's towards my support system. There's a lot of people that have spent hours and time with me to give me that effort, that work, just that grind attitude, or that opportunity to do well. So,
and you didn't necessarily grow up like with the best circumstances or in the best part of town or whatever. Right?
I mean, I grew up in East San Jose.
Yeah.
I grew up, my backyard was Overfeld High School. So, when I was a kid, I would be able to hop the fence, and we had a big football field out there, and so that field actually became where we would train. We would definitely do a lot of running and a lot of training out there. But it was definitely a good community. Everyone took care of each other. I had a lot of good friends. It was a place where you can leave your front door open and no one's going to be going in your house. So it's definitely it was definitely a good. Maybe some people may think it may not be the best part of town, but for me it definitely worked out well.
And I think what I'm getting at is I grew up in that area as well, and there's gangs and stuff like that, and kind of growing up around that, but you seem to be able to kind of stray a different way, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about that, of kind of some of the things like your family put you in, with the whole wrestling and all that, and how that helped shape you. Like what do you think kind of led to you kind of going down this path of becoming an entrepreneur, like starting from the childhood?
Yeah, my first entrepreneur experience would be my mom and I. We would door knock. I don't know if you know this. So we used to door knock, and we used to paint the curbs. So the numbers on the curbs. So me and my mom would door knock the neighborhood, and knock on the door and see who would allow us to paint the curb. I was probably maybe like 6 years old, and I remember it was hot during the summertime. She would carry this red cup with her. And I'd get thirsty, so we'd have to go to water hose and kind of pour water in the red cup and drink that. We'd continue door knocking. So that was my first experience.
Yeah.
And my second was, she got me a job when I was about in fifth grade, and it was with a company called Junior Careers. We've seen the kids come through our office.
Yeah.
So basically, I would have a box of goodies. It would be like caramel nut clusters, peanut brittle. It would be those tablecloths that you can draw on.
The map.
Yeah, the map, scented candles. And I learned, right away, I learned a skill of just finding the best person. It was a van that would pick you up. So I would find the best person in that van. Who's the best salesman here? Yeah. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to copy that guy. So I walked around with that guy for probably maybe 2 weeks, and I'm like, I got this down.
Yeah.
So what one of my pitches was, I would basically go to the door, knock on the door, say my little spill, and then I would start putting everything on the on the porch, right? Like, here, you want a scented candle, you want caramel nut clusters.
You take everything out of your box.
Yeah, you start putting it all out there, right? Because then they feel bad. They feel bad if they don't buy nothing. You got to put it all back. So they say no. You're just like kind of like looking at them, putting it back in the box.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. So that was my second experience of kind of. You'd make $1 for every sale. So being a salesman, that was my, and I was making $20 an hour at, being 5th, 6th grade, whatever, probably the late 80s.
Yeah.
So that was, another experience of mine.
Well, let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
So as you started doing that, and you started seeing some money come in, did that kind of did the light bulb go in your head like, shoot, like the concept of being able to hustle for money and stuff like that? And
going back to the wrestling part of it, it's an individual sport, so as much effort and work you put into is what you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about sales. Is that there's no ceiling as long as you work hard and you put the work in, and you got to get some skills and find angles and overcome objections. So I enjoyed that part of it because it related to wrestling. So if I took wrestling, if I did a certain technique, this person's he's gonna do something to counter it, and then I got to wrap back around and try to figure that out. Same with sales, right? You're gonna ask something, they're gonna have something that you have to solve, and you just got to be able to do that, right?
So while we're on that tip, let's talk about wrestling, right? So some people may know or may not, but your family comes from a long legacy of wrestlers that have been successful here in the Bay Area. Tell me about that. Like, at what age did you start wrestling?
So probably started wrestling at maybe 6 years old, 7 years old. Yeah. So that's so the story is, we have my Uncle Bobby. He brought wrestling to the house, right? Mm-hmm. He brought wrestling to my grandmother's house, and he would train on my Uncle Ricky and my Uncle Anthony, and so. And then they didn't want to get beat up anymore, so they went to practice. They started learning, and so that's where it all started. It started with my uncles, and so when I was younger, my Uncle Rick was the one who coached us. And then when we got into about 6th, 7th grade, they kind of handed us off to my Uncle Anthony, and they all had their hands in the pot when they were developing us, but they put in, tons and tons of time. Where it taught me, one, they gave me a physical skill of how to wrestle, but it also helped me mentally, just setting goals, being able to work hard and just be able to just accomplish things, right? So it was a lot of things you learn from the wrestling you could take into our business, right?
And you and I have talked about it, right? Like when we're hanging out and stuff, like just about some of the stuff you had to go through to prepare for wrestling, right?
Yeah.
The cutting weight, the dieting, the running, all these things, like. Yeah. Tell me about that, man. Like, what's some of your fondest memories of preparing for a wrestling meet?
It's fond memories of it. It's the work, and it's kind of like this, the work, you got to enjoy the work. You got to enjoy the journey, right? Because at the end of the day, when you win the tournament, it feels good. But there's a whole process to get to that point, right? The same thing here. Like when we're building this, in the process of building this business, there's not like, okay, cool, it's over, we're done. It's you got to enjoy the process of building it. Yeah. If not, it's not going to be fun, or you're going to dread it. Yeah. And with our business, I enjoy coming to work. We had those 2 weeks off, and honestly, I enjoyed about 10 days of it, but after that, I wanted to get back in here. It's the same thing when if we miss working out, if we get off our routine, I start missing it after a while. Yeah. So it's, fond memories. We did a lot of traveling. Yeah. We traveled a lot. One of the best things is I have a group of friends that are my brothers. We've been together since I was 6, 7 years old. And wherever I travel now, I have my friend Mario in New York. Yeah. I have Gabe that I was just hanging out with down in LA, And these are friends and bonds that we've made through the wrestling, and it's and even their parents are like my aunts and uncles, and we hang out during the holidays together. So it's a neat experience. It was a neat process, and it didn't just build the wrestling, but it built a lot of other things behind that.
Yeah, a lot of life skills. And I look at a lot of I know a lot of your friends obviously have become my friends over the years. And it seems like a lot of them who have grown up as wrestlers, they establish some level of like life skills and work ethic. And, for the most part, most of them are successful or, in their own part. A lot of fun, a lot of good times and laughs and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's, how do you think wrestling has prepared you for the life that you're living today?
It goes back to, to me, I think they're natural skills, right? I mean, we've talked about it before. I think, just working hard, just being on time, being disciplined, to me, that's the way it should be, and a lot of things, a lot of times people need to learn those things. And for me, I was very fortunate to learn those things early on, where now I can apply that to any aspect or any part of my life, right? And, I'm applying it here in our business, but I also try to apply it with my kids, with my wife, with my family, with my friends. Again, we use that term of holding, being held accountable. And to be honest, I hold myself accountable. The guy that I look at in the mirror, I'm the one who needs to hold myself accountable versus, I know I have other people around me that count on me, but I think I hold myself accountable. And that's, again, going back to the wrestling part, is when you're on that mat, it's just you and another opponent. There's no one else. I mean, there's a ref, but if you win, it's because of what you've done. If you lose, it's because of what you've done. Right? There's nothing, there's no one else. It's not a team sport there, right?
And that's something I think I admire about you, just knowing you over time, is you and I think differently, right? And that sometimes complements each other. Sometimes we butt heads, but you have a sense to you where, like, a lot of times you're black and white. Like, hey, if you say you're going to do something, do it, right? Yeah. And sometimes, we try to take the easy route of things, right? And sometimes you're like, no, if I said I'm going to show up on time, I'm going to show up on time, right? Yeah. And nowadays, a lot of that gets lost, right? Because it's like things are really loose, right? People have forgot like the sense of being responsible and being disciplined and everything. But I think I can honestly, at least from my perspective, look back and see that has really helped you become successful, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because when you have committed to, whether it's building a business or whether it's making sales calls or whatever, or even doing stuff with your family, I think you hold a high level of standard to yourself, right?
Yeah. I mean, even when I first got in the business, I remember it was, you got to understand, I was used to, in high school, I would have to train, go to school, study, right? And then you get into college, I worked full-time while I was going to college, and then I went to school, and then I had to study. Mm-hmm. Then, I wanted to go out and party as well, right? But then when I got done with school, it was easy. I was like, all you have to do is work now? I'm like, wait a minute, all I got to do is just work 8 hours? So I was always the first one there. I would go work out in the gym, go take a shower at the eBay building where we first worked at. And I would go to work. I would be the first one there, talking to the processors, trying to figure out, how can I get an angle? How can I get ahead? And so for me, it was way easier when you took away, like, all you have to do is work now. Yeah. And then we didn't have any kids. We didn't have any wives. We didn't have any other obligation. Yeah. So for me, working 10, 12 hours was no big deal. Yeah. And that's where I think it allowed us to build our business, to build our skills, because we didn't have that. Now it's a little different, right? Yeah. Now we have the wives, the kids, and where we want to be able to kind of spread ourselves out a little bit. Yeah. And to me, that's been a challenge, right? Yeah. And it took some time for me to understand that, to break that habit of working 8 hours, 10 hours a day, versus, my wife had to tell me, like, hey, listen, don't you think your son would want you to put on his wrestling shoes? Yeah. She's like, I'll do it, but don't you think, and it's like, it's not that I didn't want to do it, it's just I was caught up in that habit of just working all the time. Yeah. Right? So I did have to make some adjustments, which, I'm enjoying it now. Yeah. And I think that's the case for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Is there's something within us that drives us to do well, to succeed, to take the chance on building a business and all of those things. And that's what makes you great, right? Yeah.
but then it's also can overtake your life, right? To where if you have people around, you have families and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If we're always consumed with work sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And even you and I, we challenge ourselves. It's like, no, go take a vacation, take a week off. Don't worry, I'm gonna hold down the fort while you're gone, right? And then I will take my vacation when you get back, or vice versa, right? So let's talk about that. Like, what are some of the, like, what's your perspective on that now? Like, as you have your family, and what are you doing, or what do you have to do to convince yourself, like, hey, maybe take a break, or take some time off, or?
Yeah, again, my wife gave me an example of, you have everything in your calendar. You have the gym in the calendar, you have your appointments, you have all these things in your calendar. And she said, "Hey, what an appointment for me?" So right. and it's just, and I love spending time with my wife. It was just, sometimes you get caught up in doing the same thing over and over again. And so I would say just kind of being aware of, making time for family, being balanced, making sure you have time for yourself, making sure you're taking care of yourself, making sure you get to enjoy certain things. And just kind of planning that out, I think, is important. Because to me, if you just wanted to make money, to me, that's it's easy to do that in the sense of all you do is just focus your energy on that. But now when you want to have success with your health, your wife, your kids, your business, your friends, that's where it takes you got to balance it all out and kind of manage it, right?
And it's hard.
It's definitely hard. I mean,
right?
Definitely. I mean, it's...
And I think the message I want to put out to people is that, and sometimes we tell ourselves this, is that the work is always going to be there, right? Like you think if you put your mindset to where, like, my business is always going to be, there's always going to be time for work, there's always going to be time for work, then it's like, all right, well, maybe that could wait, right? And trying to find that sweet spot where you feel like you're still accomplishing what you want to accomplish, but yet you are being there for your wife, your kids, your other parts of your life, right?
Yeah, it's definitely important.
Yeah, so... All right, let's switch gears a little bit. So, we've been business partners, right, for quite some time. Right, and it's been a journey, right, together. We've grown together as individuals throughout our business. It's not always smooth sailing, right? So, I want to talk about the dynamic of having a business partner, right? Because a lot of times people are in this, entrepreneurs, and they may be solo people, right, doing it all on their own. Or they may even be considering partnering with someone, right? Or they may be in a partnership right now that may either be working great or not working, right? So let's talk a little about the dynamic, man, and maybe what you have learned over the years of being partners with me. And don't hold back no questions, right? It's all this is all for the betterment.
No, I mean, I think it's definitely. We have a great partnership. I mean, to me, I think we have a great partnership. I enjoy your perspective on things. I think, definitely you could be stubborn at times, and when I really see something my way, then I can probably be stubborn as well. But I think ultimately what happens is we have the same goal in mind. We have the same values, and that's kind of where I'm at. Is I try to surround myself with people with the same values, and I see that with my partner, right? I see that with you in the sense of it's not about the financial gain. It's not, it's more about, serving our clients at a high level. It's about serving our agents at a high level. And that financial part will come in play. Right? Definitely I'm here to make money but I also want to make sure we provide a good product. I want to make sure that we provide, benefits for our agents. And I know that's the same vision you have. And so even though we may not see eye to eye on certain tasks or certain projects, we have the same goal. So maybe I need to budge a little here, and then sometimes you budge, and then we're going the same direction. And I think that's very important when it's just like a marriage. It's like a husband and wife. It's the same thing. As long as there's communication, as long as there's respect. You know what? I'm not saying you're right, I'm wrong. It's just we see it differently. We have two different eyeballs, and it's going to be seen differently. So I think just if you're going to align yourself with a partner, whether it's going to be a wife or with the business partner, my advice would be definitely make sure you guys have the same vision, the same goal in mind. Right? I think it's important.
And sometimes throughout the course of the relationship or business, the vision might change, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or it might tweak a little bit, or it might go in certain directions. And I think it's just the open communication is definitely key, right?
Definitely.
To a healthy, business partnership is if you're feeling some sort of way or like, hey, I think we should start going in this direction, you gotta present that to the other person, right? And not necessarily say, hey, this is how it's gonna be, but maybe hopefully get them to see like why you're wanting to do this, right?
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's the way you deliver it, right? It's delivery, and it's just just giving options or giving a perspective on it. It's like you said, it's not like, hey, we're doing it this way. It's, hey, this is an idea. What do you think? Let's get some feedback.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely in the way you present things will definitely, it'll definitely make it work out. So.
Got it. Now, let's talk about a little bit about the dynamic of running a team, right? And coaching other people.
Yeah. Because
you come from a place where you were a high-level athlete, right?
Yeah.
When you were in wrestling, you've won state championships, your family is, has had a lot of accolades and stuff. But now going from, and then you were also a top producer, right? In our career, and switching from now being a team leader, right? And coaching other people. I know me personally, right, that's a journey, right? It's transitioning from an athlete, the superstar or whatever, to the coach.
Yeah.
It's a different level of mindset, and you and I have had to do some growing in that part and work on our leadership skills and all that stuff, right? Give me some of your perspective on maybe some of the challenges or some of the things you've had to adjust or to become a better leader. Right?
I think that's. You're 100% right. It's definitely, to me, it's easier being the athlete than to be the coach.
Yeah.
But
how so?
Because as an athlete, you have more control, right? You're the one who's going to show up at a certain time. You're the one who's going to make the calls. You're the one who's going to give that customer service.
Yeah.
Right. So as a coach, you got to be able to, one, if you're the coach, you got to be able to hire the right team.
Yeah.
Right, because you are the coach, you are the owner, so it relies on you. You don't have a bad team.
Yeah.
You just made a bad hire, or you put someone bad on your team.
Yeah.
So I think it starts from that, making sure that you hire the right person that's going to fit the culture and fit the vision that you have. And that's difficult. That's difficult to find because, again, when someone comes on an interview, they're giving you the best behavior, right? And then 6 weeks into it or 6 months into it, you're like, that's not the same person I hired.
The true colors come out,
right? So that's one part of it. Two is the other thing that I found is that I got to understand that if I have a team, there's, let's say we have 5 different people. They all have 5 different personalities, 5 different problems. 5 different issues, so you got to be able to walk them through that process. They're going to be strong in certain areas, weak in others, and just understand that everyone is not built equally. And that was a challenge for me. I'm just like, why can't you not just do this? And so again, just being patient with that is huge. It's huge. It's just being patient and understand that everyone is not created equally, and your job is to get everyone to develop and be able to compete or at a high level.
Yeah.
Right?
And one of the things that I've learned too and come to realize over time is that sometimes we try to apply like a blanket solution to everybody.
No.
And that's not always the best, right?
No.
And I think just listening to, even our coach and stuff like that is as athletes or agents on your team or whoever people in your organization grow, they have different things that they need at different times, right? The guy in the beginning, of his career, he's barely learning the basics, right?
Yeah.
They're barely learning how to tie their shoes or even just show up on time, right? And once you've got them through that, it's the different level of coaching that they need to take, they need to give so that they can get to the next stage in their life, right?
Definitely.
Once they're actually a producer and they've gotten to the basics, now they know how to close deals, like in our industry, it's like now it's all right, like now time management comes into play, right? Now it's like, now building your network comes into play. Now there's a lot of, it's a higher level coaching, right?
Yeah, and a lot of fine tuning and certain areas.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, I think we forget that, right? Because sometimes we're running and gunning and we're trying to just, all right, everyone's going to do this now, right? And you sometimes can see it, right? You see the faces like, I don't really want to do that. Right?
It's you're right, and that's one thing that I had to learn too. Is like one size doesn't fit all, right?
Yeah.
You use a term on me all the time. You can't put a square in a round hole or something, right? I'm like, just go in, And again, we're with it's like we're laying out, like you said, this process, and we're expecting everyone to follow it, and they're not. So there's other people that need more help than others.
Yeah.
And just being patient, and making sure you do, you make good hires.
Yeah.
I think is important.
Yeah.
Take more time to hire people.
Yeah, there was that saying, hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, right? And I think before, what we do, or what I do, is I see potential in everyone.
Yeah.
I'm like, that they have potential.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what we've been taught. It's more, look at the patterns, before potential.
Yeah.
What have they had success in prior? What have they done before to proven themselves, right? For me, it's like, oh, you want to be on my team? Great, you have potential.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, they hadn't had any success in anything, right?
Yeah,
So
and that's always the hard part is you never know what's going to happen. And sometimes the person that you did not think will do well does well.
Yeah.
The person you did think is going to do well does not do well, right?
Yeah.
It's really a tricky game, hiring people and being a leader in an organization.
Yep.
It doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right? And I think for us, we've learned over the years that we have to adapt and maneuver and not be stuck in the way of thinking, right? And that's a challenge, right?
It is, yeah, definitely.
So how do you think now, with everything we've said, the way you've grown up, your level of thinking, even the journey we've taken over building our business, how does that apply to your family life? And now that you have kids, and now that you're trying to teach your kids the right way.
I mean, it's for me, one of the biggest things growing up, I guess, I don't know if it was a fear, but a driving force was something in my head. Just I want to be successful, right? So now, and again, there's different levels to success. So now, I'm judging my success is more on my family, right? More my kids. It's just like that's now my team, right? So for me, I want to be able to give my kids tools to succeed. Mm-hmm. And again, whether they want to go to school or play piano or whatever it may be, I just want to give them as many tools so they can live a successful life. Yeah. And I guess that's how I will probably sit back and judge myself, is that if they're happy, content, successful, then I can kind of say I did my job.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that I use that we've learned from our business coach, from each other, I use, some of those strategies with my family, setting goals. And again, it's because I've always set goals, but I've never written the goals down, right? And it makes a big difference. So just learning those little, an actual structure of doing those things, I think is important, that I'm trying to put back or give back to my kids.
Yeah.
Because setting goals, I've been setting goals since I was 6, 7 years old. I want to win this tournament, or I want to get a college degree, or I want to, get this position. So there have been goals, but they weren't maybe written down.
Yeah.
Right. And just kind of mapping that out, I think, is important, and showing the kids or my kids to map those things out so they can have success. Right.
Do you think you're harder on your kids now than maybe you had it? Are there people who influenced you or do they have it a lot easier and more relaxed?
They have it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids have it a lot easier. I don't know if it's, people say it's a different time. I don't know what it is, but I think, our kids just went to, they went to Disneyland for, 3-4 days. They have iPads, they have computers, they have phones. It's different, and again, I had a great childhood. I mean, even though I grew up on, in East San Jose, it wasn't bad. It was good. We had a good time. We had BB gun fights. We had we rode mini bikes and go-karts and lit fireworks. So so I had a great life. My kids don't do any of that.
Yeah.
They don't do any of that. They're on their iPad. They got the PlayStation. The kids have a pool in their backyard. We didn't have that. We'd have to climb the fence, go to Overfelt, go pay 50 cents, and so it's so definitely they have it a lot easier.
Yeah.
So that being said, I guess my expectation is a lot higher for them.
Yeah.
Right, in the sense of my daughter plays little piano, she sings, she does judo, she has all these things at her fingertips where I expect her to do well. She has a tutor, so the expectations is set a lot higher.
Yeah.
But again, even the expectations set higher, but I think they have it easier.
You think they have it easier,
right? So I don't know. Maybe that balances out.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that will play out, right? Because going through struggle and adversity as a child,
it's huge.
I think it's it's tough on you growing up, but it can also be part of the reason that you push to be better, right? Because you don't want to go back to that. And it could go both ways, right? You can go down the wrong path.
We've seen, we've seen both, right? We both definitely have both seen, it can go either way, right? Yeah. And no, I agree. And again, even like you said, growing up, I had good friends that went the wrong path, right? And for me, the reason why I didn't was because my dad wouldn't allow it. It was like he was strict, but he was strict but very fair. He was very firm but fair, I guess is the term. But again, I mean, he gave me a lot of skills, and but yes, unfortunately, some of my friends in the neighborhood, they didn't have that. They didn't have a father figure, and they didn't, they were, didn't end up in the right path. Yeah. Right. So we were definitely fortunate.
Now, speaking of today, you talked about your daughter, right? So now your daughter's competing in judo and stuff. Yeah. Like, how much of a thrill do you get out of you coming from being an athlete and being in wrestling and being a high-level athlete, and now you see your daughter out there kicking ass and all that stuff? Like, how does that make you feel?
You know what? It's probably one of the best experiences. I mean, again, it's for me when I see my kids compete or when they go through adversity.
Your son
my son. When I see them compete or when I see them train, and it's not even the win. To me, the winning it's not as much as the win that's important. It's more the process of me seeing them improve and seeing them execute. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there's always going to be a winner and losing. But there's times where they can lose, but I'm like, dude, you did a freaking amazing job. You did this technique we've been working on, and obviously we want to win. But to answer your question, it is probably one of my best experiences when I get to go see them compete and train. I mean, you'll see me. I mean, I will train with my daughter and my son after work, and that's probably the highlight of my day. Yeah. Right. But yeah, it's teaching them some great skills. Right. Some great skills.
So I guess we talked about a lot, man, and I think there's a lot of value that people can maybe take from this, different perspectives. So I got like a last final curveball to throw at you, right? You being now where you're at now and looking back, like if you had to go back, if yourself right now can go back to when you were a kid, growing up, what would you tell yourself? To that kid who's maybe growing up, trying to figure stuff out and not really knowing what's ahead of them, what would you say to yourself?
I would say, and I think I would say probably enjoy the wins a little more. Yeah. Maybe take some time, enjoy the wins. Sometimes I feel like I'm so caught up in the grind or in the process where when we do win, we don't. It's not really celebrate, but just kind of enjoy it a little bit. Yeah. I would say that. And the other thing is, you're going to be all right. Just continue to work hard, stay focused, and it's going to be okay. If maybe giving that kid a peace of mind that it's all going to work out. Yeah. Maybe giving that. Yeah. But yeah, I think just enjoying the wins and giving a hey, everything's going to work out. Yeah. Right.
And it's funny you say that because that's something that you and I have had to push ourselves in, right? Is to celebrate more of our wins, right? To have a good time. I think you become so addicted to the grind and the journey, just the everyday, being in it, right? And you love being in it, right? And
you don't feel alive unless you're alive.
Yeah, right. If you're sitting at home just chilling, like you feel like you're being lazy, you're not doing something. And then even though you close a big deal or you see someone win or whatever, you get excited a little bit, but it doesn't replace that feeling of just being in it, every single day, right?
You're right. I mean, examples this last 2 weeks. I mean, because the way the holiday fell, it was like in the middle, so we took some time off, and I was ready to get back in here. It's just, I mean, this is, we spent a lot of time here. Yeah. And I enjoy it.
And I think also, at the point in my career, and I think I can speak for you on this, is, we've made money, we've had success and all that stuff too, but I think for me, what I really get a thrill out of now is seeing the people on my team win. Right?
Definitely.
Like when you're seeing someone come in like with no experience or they're rough and you get them trained and they get their first deal, like.
Oh yeah, that's hands down. Again, that's a great experience. Yeah, because we've done it. The analogy I say, I've had my hand raised. Yeah. I've closed deals. I've done that. But now to be able to give someone that power to do that, to have these, our agents be able to provide great service to our clients, and to be able to be compensated for a great job, and when they get that Zillow review and it's a raving review, I think it's amazing. It's definitely a good feeling.
Awesome. I think we hit it, man.
Cool.
I appreciate you coming on here. I think there's a ton of stuff. You've been more behind the scenes. I've been in front of the camera and in front of the marketing stuff, but you have a tremendous amount of value and wisdom and
Thank you.
And work ethic. And, I just think we need to continue to put that out there.
Let's do it.
Because people could definitely learn from you, brother.
Let's do it.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Cool.